A very warm good afternoon to one and all. Myself, Dr. Manjula Karlawal, Associate Professor from the Department of Kaya Chikitsa Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya Hubli, event convener of Navadasha Samvada. Heartily welcome you all for today's session, that is day 11. Today we have with us Dr. Avdut sir, who is professor and HOD of Department of Panchakarma from Goa. Sir is going to talk on the topic General Introduction Types Ayurvedic Management of the Diseases Caused by Autoimmune Disorders. Sir is already there in the meeting. I heartily welcome you, sir. Okay, before we start with the session, I call upon Miss Nida, final year BMS student, Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya Hubli, to introduce our today's guest speaker and also welcome sir for today's session. Nida, you are here? Nida, one second. Yeah, start.
Good afternoon, one and all. It is my honor to welcome you all to the Navadasha Samvada conducted by Department of PG Studies in Kaya Chikitsa of Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya Hubli. Now, I would like to welcome and introduce today's guest speaker, Dr. Avdut Suresh Iyer. Dr. Avdut Iyer is the Associate Professor and HOD of Department of Panchakarma of Gomantak Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya and Research Center, Shiroda, Goa. Sir has completed his BMS from Gomantak Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya and Research Center, Shiroda, Goa, and his MD in IU from Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya, Hubli. Sir has a teaching experience of 13 years at JAM and RC Shiroda and PIMC Kannur, Kerala. And he also has a research experience of 2 years. He was selected as a youngest scientist of ICMR in the year 2009, and he is also a member of BOS, Goa University, and has also delivered various lectures in CMEs and at other various platforms. Sir has also presented papers on various national and international journals and has also conducted various medical camps and training programs. A hearty welcome to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Nida. Sir, now you can start presenting and start the session, sir. Avdut, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. So, good afternoon to all. At the outset, I would like
Sir,
to thank.
sir, the
Uh,
slides are not visible,
yeah,
sir. Slides are not visible.
not visible.
No, sir. Now
Not
it is
visible.
visible, sir. Yes, now visible, sir. Yes, yes. Now visible. You can
It will take
take
some
it out.
time, I think.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
See, now they are visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, madam.
Yes, sir.
They are
Yes, sir.
visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir. You can
Okay,
start.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So, good afternoon. At the outset, I would like to thank the chairman of AMB Hubli, Vaidya G.H. Narigal sir, Principal of Ayurved Mahavidyalaya, Hubli, Dr. A.S. Prashant Sir, Dean of PG Studies, AMB Hubli, Dr. J.R. Joshi Sir, General Secretary of Navadasha Samvedana, Professor S.G. Chavan Sir, Organizing Secretary, Dr. Madhusudan Kulkarni Sir, Event Convener, Dr. Manjula Madam, Coordinator, Dr. Yasin Hullur Sir, Event Organizer, Dr. Akshay Cholin Sir, for giving me this opportunity, and I also congratulate the whole team for this particular event. I am very much delighted today to be here, and I am happy to share on the topic general introduction, types, and Ayurvedic management of diseases caused by autoimmune disorders. So when we look at the statistical survey, we can see that about 23 million Americans, they suffer from this autoimmune diseases. And although there are more than 80 different autoimmune diseases identified till today, there are three things common in all these diseases. First thing is that the immune system is attacking the healthy cells. The cause of the disease is unknown. And thirdly, there is no cure as per modern medicine. There is a steady rise in the number of autoimmune diseases throughout the world over the past decade. Ayurveda has unique fundamental principles, and based upon these fundamental principles, we can understand and treat these autoimmune conditions very effectively. So now, before understanding autoimmune disorders, it is important to understand what is autoimmunity. So in healthy individuals, the immune system constantly protect them from native as well as foreign microorganisms. These microorganisms could be viruses, bacteria, or parasite that have the capacity to produce disease. However, in some individuals, this protection is inappropriately misdirected in such a way that our own tissues and cells are damaged, and this give rise to autoimmunity. So diseases that result from this phenomenon, they are known as autoimmune disorders. So failure of immune regulation. It is just a failure of immune regulation. The antibodies and autoreactive immune cells, they attack our own body tissues and they lead to autoimmune disease. So now how this happens, it varies from condition to condition. And research is aimed at understanding how the immune system goes wrong and how to correct those disorders. There are some cases wherein they have found hereditary component, environmental factors, and sometimes it may be even triggered by some infection. One example I will give is Zika virus infection. Following this Zika virus infection, people develop autoimmunity and they land in paralysis. So more research is required on this particular aspect of autoimmunity and autoimmune disorders. Autoimmune disorders are a broad spectrum of diseases that can affect any part in the body. And there is one sign which is common in all these autoimmune disorders, that is inflammation. And the impact of this autoimmune disorders depends upon which part of the body is getting affected. So these autoimmune disorders, can be classified into localized to one particular organ, localized to specific organ or tissue. Example is thyroiditis, or they may be systemic and they may damage many organs or tissues, such as SLE. So this is one condition of localized immune disorder, Addison's disease. You can see the pigmentation over the face. So in this particular disease, there is damage to the outer layer of the adrenal cortex. And the most important cause for damage to the outer layer of adrenal cortex is autoimmunity. And as a result of this damage, the adrenal gland does not produce enough steroidal hormones. And it leads to a condition called as primary adrenal insufficiency, resulting in symptoms which include fatigue, muscle weakness, and loss of appetite. And if this condition is not recognized early, and if it is not treated early, it is fatal. Second important condition of localized immune disorder is Graves' disease. It affects the thyroid gland. And it is the most important cause for hyperthyroidism because the antibodies which are produced against thyroid gland, they mimic thyroid stimulating hormone. And they stimulate the thyroid gland producing more and more thyroid hormones, and they produce symptoms like tremors, insomnia, and hyperactivity in the patient. Type 1 diabetes mellitus is also a consequence of autoimmune destruction of the cells that are present in the pancreas. And since these pancreatic cells, they produce insulin, blood sugar is not controlled. And if this particular condition is not treated, it leads to nerve damage, it leads to heart diseases and problem with the retina. So without adequate treatment, it may be fatal. Crohn's disease. Nowadays, we get so many patients of Crohn's disease. It is an inflammatory bowel disease, result of chronic inflammation of the lining within the gastrointestinal tract. And this particular inflammation will produce diarrhea, abdominal pain, and fatigue in the patient. In systemic autoimmune diseases, we have diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, scleroderma, systemic lupus erythematosus, and multiple sclerosis. So rheumatoid arthritis, the most common condition that cause painful stiffness and swelling in the joints. So it is a result of immune system attacking the tissues that are present in the joint lining, and eventually it damages the joints. Rheumatoid arthritis can also affect inflammation around other organs, such as it may produce inflammation around the heart. It can even produce inflammation around the lung. In scleroderma, immune system attacks the connective tissues beneath the skin. And as a result, there is thickening of these tissues. It can affect the circulation and even it can affect the internal organs, leading to death. SLE, you can see the butterfly rash in this particular patient over the face. Condition which affects multiple parts of the body, including the skin, including the joints, heart, lung, and the nervous system. So it also results because of widespread systemic autoimmune reaction, and the symptoms are fatigue, joint pain, and rash. Multiple sclerosis, a chronic condition that can cause significant disability because the insulating layer of the nerves is destroyed in this particular condition, and because of which it affects the signaling between the brain and the other parts of the body. So how this autoimmunity develops? What is the exact mechanism of autoimmunity? It is important that we should understand the mechanism. There are different mechanisms, but before you understand the mechanism, you need to understand some important terms. First term is called as energy. So whenever any antigen it enters our body, firstly the immune cells they will develop a generalized reaction to that particular antigen. And if it is presented next time, then there will be a specialized reaction wherein there is production of specific B and T cells. And these B and T cells, they will only respond to that particular antigen. So energy is a process wherein the specialized B and T lymphocytes, they fail to respond to this specific antigen. So it is a loss of immunity, or it is called as a suppression of immunity. Now, what is epitope? Epitope is a specific area over the antigen where the antibody will bind. And third important thing we need to understand for understanding the mechanism of immunity is clonal deletion theory. So what this clonal deletion theory states? It states that body does not produce antibodies to self antigen. So when the child is in the fetal stage, whatever antigens are present in the womb, corresponding antibodies will never develop. So it is assumed that when the child develops in the womb, there are antibodies corresponding to all antigens. But these antibodies are deleted at the time of birth. So when the child is in the fetal stage, whatever antigens are present, corresponding antibodies will be there in the body. But these antibodies will be deleted during birth. So now, different mechanisms of autoimmunity. So first mechanism is called as breakdown of T cell energy. So if T cell energy is broken down, they start destroying self antigen. And when they start destroying self antigen, they produce inflammation in different areas. Like they produce inflammation in the joint, they develop rheumatoid arthritis, psoriasis, multiple sclerosis, and that is called as breakdown of T cell energy. Failure of AICD. So AICD is activation induced cell death. If T cells are activated against self antigen, then they have to undergo apoptosis. If they are activated against the self antigen, then there is cellular death. Now, if this doesn't happen, then it is called as activation induced cellular death. Loss of T regulatory cell function. T regulators, they have the important function that they suppress the immunity. Now, when there is loss of suppression of immunity, it leads to autoimmunity. Fourth mechanism is even though there are even though there are B cells which are capable of producing antibodies against self antigen, they won't be producing the antigen unless they are told by the T cells, unless they are stimulated by the T cells. Next important mechanism is sequestered antigen. So sequestered are hidden antigens. So there are hidden antigens from the blood. There are certain areas in the body where there are hidden antigen, like hidden antigens are present in the testis or hidden antigens are present in the ova. And they have different DNA. The sperm and the ova, they have different DNA due to meiotic division, and they are protected from the blood due to blood testis barrier or blood ovary barrier. If there is damage to this particular organ, if there is damage to testis, then they are presented to the immune system, which is called as sequestered antigen. Molecular mimicry. So certain antigens which are shared by us, they are common. They are also shared by some bacteria as well as viruses. Example is Streptococcus antigen. So antigen which is present over the Streptococcus, it resembles the antigen which is present over the heart valves. So after the streptococcal infection subside, the antibody present in the blood, they attack the heart valves and they develop rheumatic heart disease. Now, one important mechanism of autoimmunity is bystanding. So what is bystanding? Imagine a localized area in the body where there is an antigen along with antibody and complement trying to neutralize each other. At the same time, if there are any other immune system complexes, any other immune system components in and around which are trying to fight against this antigen, it is like two people fighting in the middle of the road and people standing on either side of the road start rioting and hitting whatever they get. It is called as bystanding. Polyclonal immunity. So polyclonal immunity is a non-specific immunity. If you have one antigen and corresponding only one antibody against it, it is called as monoclonal antibody. Sometimes it happens that immune system is overexcited and it will produce antibodies nothing to do with the corresponding antigen. And these antibodies are non-specific and they will try to destroy our own cells. And lastly, embryonic sequestration. So during the fetal stage, there are certain antigens that are hidden. They are not presented to the immune system. So these antigens, they are hidden in some molecules or organic compound, like they are hidden by lipids. And it happens that in future there is damage to this particular lipid layer and they are presented to the immune system. So these are the mechanisms by which the autoimmunity develops. Now, what about the diagnosis of autoimmunity? So lab testing is of great value when you want to evaluate a patient with suspected autoimmune disease. And the result can confirm the diagnosis. It can estimate the disease severity and it can aid in assessing prognosis. And it is also useful to follow the disease activity. So there are some components of lab examination like complete blood count, CBC, DC, then comprehensive metabolic panel, inflammatory markers, autoantibodies, and flow cytometry. So no one lab test can establish the diagnosis. Typically, multiple lab tests are needed, and it include the basic studies like corpuscular blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, acute phase reactant, immunological studies, serologies, flow cytometry, cytokine analysis, HLA typing, ESR. But ESR is actually non-specific and it is used to assess the disease activity only. So initially you have to go for initial lab evaluation. Then you can go for inflammatory markers like ESR, C-reactive protein, ferritin, ceruloplasmin, fibrinogen. Then autoantibodies and immunological studies are also available like ELISA, rheumatoid factor, anti-CCP, anti-nuclear antibody, and immunoglobulins like lupus anticoagulant, flow cytometry, then cytokine studies are also available. Now, what about the treatment available in modern medicine? So treatment for autoimmune condition, typically it involves managing the symptoms and controlling the autoimmune process. And also attempting to maintain a good immune function. So there are some frontline therapies which include corticosteroids and immunosuppressant drugs, which are commonly used in patients with autoimmune disorders. Although these do not work in all patients and they are associated with significant side effects because of immunocompression. So in those diseases affecting the function of particular organ or tissue, some remedial therapies are also required to counter the poor function of those tissues as a result of immune damage. Example in type 1 diabetes, lifelong insulin replacement is required. Similarly, in case of Addison's disease, patient require daily medication to replace lost production of steroidal hormones. Now coming to Ayurvedic concept of immunity, immune tolerance and autoimmunity. So when we look at the defense function of the body, it is described in terms of Oj, which is also called as Bala, and Vyadik Shamatva. So modern understanding of immunity fits in this broad concept of Vyadik Shamatva in Ayurveda. Chakrapani Datta, he has interpreted Vyadik Shamatva as Vyadi Bala Virodhitva. it is antagonistic to the strength and virulence of disease. And Vyadi Utpada Pratibandhakatvam, that is, it is the capacity to inhibit and bind the causes and factors of disease. Charak, he also described Bal as the factor that can destroy the disease. Ayurvedic text, they describe Oj as the final product of the tissue nourishment. And it is the essence of the seven dhatus. Sushrut, he described Oj as Paramatej of Saptadhatu, and Bala, it is the strength of the individual. Chakrapani Datta observes that Oj, which is the sar of all dhatus, it is no different than ghee. It is comparable to ghee, which is extracted from milk, honey of flowers and fruits being located in the hriday. It mixes with the rasa and it circulates the blood vessels and in the capillaries, and it performs the function of tarpan of the entire body. So it represents the strength of all the tissues, and it is present in the organism from the time of fertilization of the sperm and ova because of its natural power. Oj is considered to be of two kinds. One is para oj and second is upper oj. Para oj is subtle in nature and it is present in minute quantity. The quantity of para ojas is mentioned as 8 bindu and it is located in the heart. Whereas the upper ojas, it is half anjuli and it is spread all over the body. So para ojas is a life factor, and if there is injury and insult, it may lead to instantaneous death. Upper ojas is responsible for gross biological and immune strength. Now, Vyadik Shamatva is not the same in all constitutions. It varies from individual to individual, and it depends upon the nutritional factor, it depends upon the environmental factor, it depends upon the individual factors. So both physical and mental aspects are very, very important in case of Vyadik Shamatva. So Vyadik Shamatva or Bala is of three types. Sahaj Bal. So Sahaj Bal is a genetic and inborn resistance to disease, which is present since birth. And it is said to increase with growth of the tissues. It does not depend on any other cause. Kalaj Bal, it is an immunity said to be influenced by the seasonal trait and the age of the person. And Yuktikrut Bal. So this type of Sharir Bal refers to modulation of body's resistance against diseases. So if you give Ojo Vardak diet, physical therapy, exercise, rest, restorative and rasayan therapies, then you can increase this Yuktikrut Bal. Concept of immune tolerance, autoimmunity, according to Ayurveda. So if you look into Sushrut, he has mentioned about Sankramak Rog. He has mentioned about contagious diseases. He has mentioned about Jwara. He has mentioned about Shosha, Netra Abhishanda, Kushta. So all these conditions develop in an individual because of direct contact with the deceased person. And this can happen when the individual immunity is low, when the individual immunity is compromised. Example, in Prameha, you can see involvement of all the dhatus. Ojo Vikruti is also explained in Prameha because Oj is only immune system of body and it is hampered in Prameha. And it is now considered as an immune disorder which is widely accepted. Amovat is a disease which is similar to rheumatoid arthritis, described to be caused by impact of systemic antigen called as ARM, which is a product of faulty digestion and metabolism. Incidentally, nowadays, rheumatoid arthritis is known as an autoimmune disease, which is an example of Ojo Visraus, as described in Ayurveda. So there are also descriptions available to suggest that immunity is ultimately linked with mind. And it is suggestive of concept of psycho-neuroimmunology in Ayurveda. According to Ayurveda, rog or the disease, it is defined as an abnormality. Abnormality in the interaction between the dosh and the dusha, dusha samurchana. When this interaction takes place, disturbed by dosh, invade its own system and lead to malfunctioning of Agni. Further, disturb the srotas by Am. So this leads to initiation of Ojo Visraus and contributes towards the manifestation of autoimmune disorders. So this may be the oldest explanation of autoimmune disorders in the world history. In normal state, in a healthy human body, Vat, Pitta, Kapha, they coexist with each other, irrespective of their opposite qualities, rather than contradicting each other. And this is termed as Sahaja Satmya, which is the conventional system coined as the so-called as immune tolerance. Hence, this is the reason why body's immune cells are not attacking self from Ayurvedic point of view. But sometimes it happens that because of influence of Daiva, past deeds or unknown factors, or due to Swabhavik Karan, in which we can include all probable theories or mechanisms of initiating autoimmune reactions, like microbial agents or genetic factors or immunological factors, they potentially pave way to imbalance or disequilibrium or disstability to the Sahaj Satmya. And thereby the immune cells, they lose their ability to identify self from non-self or foreign agents. The spectrum of autoimmune disorders in different parts depend upon the cause and the site engaged by the cause. To be very precise, the area where Kavaigunya has been manifested progress to dosha dusha samurchana, and ultimately it culminates in the manifestation of disease. Even in modern medical literature, the autoimmune disorders are classified as organ specific and organ non-specific or systemic. It is based upon the autoantibody engaging the site. So Ayurvedic concept of understanding of immune mechanism is vast, but it is precise. Vyadhi Kshamatva, it entails different dimensions of modern immunology and potential immunopathological insight. The mechanism of autoimmunity is least understood in the field of immunology. The ancient science of Ayurveda holds a strong insight in understanding the immune tolerance, which is told as Sahaj Satmya, and understanding of autoimmunity as Ojo Visnaus, where there is malfunctioning of the doshas, Kriya Sannirodha. Now coming to the treatment focus. So how to treat these autoimmune conditions? Ayurvedic treatment methodologies and concept, they are very powerful for managing autoimmune disorders. Example, correcting the arm and Agni is a very powerful and safe tool for preventing and treating these autoimmune conditions. So treatment focus should be preventive and promotive in addition to curative. We have to consider the whole system rather than target tissue, and we have to administer multi-drugs. Customized intervention that varies according to individual constitutional framework or prakriti and stage and phase of the disease. There should be multi-component intervention involving the drug, diet, lifestyle, panchakarma and yoga. Shodhan Chikitsa using techniques of panchakarma, which is very unique to Ayurveda, and a treatment approach that has homeostasis that does not relapse to the prior disease stage, non-recurring. A treatment approach achieving homeostasis without causing disturbance of any other system. Initially, we can go for Deepan, Pachan, Sroto, Shodhan. We can go for Rasayan Prayog, immunity enhancing drugs. व्याधि प्रत्यनिक चिकित्सा, लाक्षणिक चिकित्सा, नैष्टिकी चिकित्सा, spiritual approach, meditation, yoga, counseling. So treatment plan varies according to disease and one's body constitution. So line of treatment of autoimmune disorders. Can be divided in various ways. First is, our focus should be removal of the toxin or the arm. So according to Ayurveda, every vyadhi is because of Agni Mandya and formation of Amadosh in the body. So this Amadosh is spreading all over the body and it causes various diseases. Hence, we have to remove this Amadosh, which helps in the formation of new dhatus with proper functioning. And for this Amadosha removal, we have the treatments like we have Shodhan Chikitsa, Vaman, Virechan, Basti, Rakta Mokshan. Even some medicines like Gugulu, Haritaki, they promote the systemic nutrition by way of Sroto Shodhan or Sroto Prasadan. And because of their Lekhan action, they remove the toxins and they act as rasayan in the body. So after we administer Shodhan Chikitsa, we have to advise Pathya, Apatya, and we have to suggest some daily routine changes which will help in the metabolic correction and formation of the new tissues by increasing the digestive fire. So at the level of Agni, we can use some rasayan drugs such as Pipli and Shunthi, which works as digestive and which increase the metabolism. It helps in the improved tissue metabolism. Increase in OJ production should be our target. As we all know that immune status of an individual play a very important role for conservation of health and prevention of the diseases. So OJ is the component that help in the nourishment of the immune system. So it is generally received from the food that we eat. because of dysfunction of the immune system, there is impaired metabolism and production of the OJ also decreases. So Ayurveda, it stresses on positive health measures such as lifestyle management, healthy dietetics, and rejuvenation therapy with the help of Rasayan therapy. So these Rasayan therapies are considered as the means of obtaining the best quality dhatus. Drugs like Guduchi, Haridra, Manjishta, Amalki, Yashtimadu, Pipli, they are used to increase this Ojo production. So all these treatment goals can be achieved using immunomodulatory drugs. So immunomodulators using herbal medication, it is a possible therapeutic measure and now it has become a subject of scientific investigation. The concept in modern scientific understanding would mean enhancement of immune responsiveness of an organism against a pathogen by non-specifically activating the immune system using immunomodulatory agents of plant origin. So it is now being recognized that modulation of immunological response could provide an alternative to conventional chemotherapy for variety of diseases wherein there is impaired immune responsiveness. So the basic concept of immunomodulation not only existed in Ayurveda, but it is being really practiced by Ayurvedic practitioners for centuries. In fact, one of the therapeutic strategies in Ayurvedic medicine is to enhance the body's overall natural resistance to diseases causing agents rather than directly neutralizing the agent itself. So here lies the difference between the fundamental therapeutic approach of Ayurveda and modern medicine. Ayurvedic approach, it emphasizes on this particular aspect. In Ayurvedic practice, the objective of immune enhancement, it can be achieved using Rasayan and Vajikaran therapy. And this immunomodulation in Ayurveda will improve the state of nutrition, which in turn upholds the increased immunity and youthfulness. Rasayan, it can be a drug, diet, or even lifestyle, and it can act at the level of rasa. When it acts at the level of rasa, it directly improves the quality of nutrition. When it acts at the level of agni, it improves the digestion and metabolism of the body, and thereby it increases the nutrition. When it is acting at the level of srotas, by improving the microcirculation, it ensures proper perfusion and nourishment of the tissues. The integrity of the channel is equally important for the distribution of the ojas to the dhatus, which provide a body immunity against degeneration and diseases. So Ayurveda describes number of drugs which are claimed to possess immunomodulatory effect, and they are extensively studied. There are different drugs like ashwagandha, shilajatu, amalki, tulsi, pipli, punarnava, which are extensively studied. So even there are different factors which we can now apply in today's lifestyle to enhance and to improve the Vyadik Shamatva so that we will not suffer from autoimmune disorders. One important concept in this regard is Hit and Ahit Ahar. The food which is accepted by the body without giving any adverse reaction, that is Hit Ahar. And such wholesome food which is suitable for a particular person, it is called as Satmya. So when a person is consuming such Satmya Ahar, it brings about Dhatu Samya in the body. And consumption of Asatmya Ahar, it gives ill effect and it decreases the Vyadik Shamatva. So there are some rules regarding the selection of Ahar, and these rules are given as Ahara Vidhi Visheshayatan. So some food material may be a Satmya for one person, but some food material may not be a Satmya for one person. It may be Asatmya for someone. So selection of the food should be done as per the individual, according to the 8 rules which are stated in Ahar Vidhi Visheshayatan. 6 ras must be included in Ahar, and food should be ingested according to the rules which are mentioned in the Ahar Vidhi Vidhan. Prakruti is also very, very important. So Prakruti, a body constitution. And after assessment of Prakruti, you can plan the Ahar Vihar according to that particular person to maintain his health. And if one follows the planned diet and Vihar according to his Prakruti, he will stay healthy, because due to this, his Vyadik Shamatva can be enhanced. Rasayan, as I told, it is the natural substance which promote the optimal strength and vitality of entire organism and all the systems in the body. And these substances have target of Dhatu Samya. They stimulate Dhatvagni and improve the metabolism and increase the strength. Vyayam, that is physical exercise, it also works. It produces exertion, and it has a great role to play in maintaining the health and balanced life. So even Acharya Charak, he has said that Vyayam is Bala Vriddhi Karak. It is immune enhancer. So assessment of Bala is done by Vyayam Kshamata. So there is definitely some relation between Vyayam and Vyadik Shamatva. Even studies show that neutrophil count, it increases during exercise, during and after exercise. So this is suggestive of increased immunity following Vyayam. And because of Vyayam, the Agni is stimulated, and after Vyayam, sweating increases, unwanted waste material is excreted through the sweat. So Vyayam has direct impact on Vyadik Shamatva. Meditation is also very, very important. So there are different methods of meditation which can be adopted. Because of meditation, there is positive thinking process in the mind. And that is how Sattva Bal increases. And due to this, tolerance and stability is enhanced. Thus, the general strength increases, adding positive impact on Vyadik Shamatva. So even there are certain factors which should be considered as immunity enhancers before birth and in the infant stage. And these measures should be implemented by mother in gestational period and till few months after birth. So if you look into Charak, he has mentioned about the uterine health. He says that Bal of the person is decided at the time of embryonic development in the uterus of mother. So thus uterine health of the mother has influence on the Bal of the person. As you know, seed develops into sapling only when the quality of the soil and the nutrition is proper. In the same way, when the uterus of mother is healthy, the fetus will be formed healthy after birth. So there are many ahar dravyas and medicines that should be given in order to improve the uterine health. And uterine health is related with Vyadik Shamatva of the baby. So nutrition after birth is very, very important to provide proper nutrition to the infant after birth up to 2 years of age. And colostrum must be given to the newborn baby to stimulate his Vedic Shamatva. Colostrum is a form of milk produced by the mammary gland in few days after giving birth. So it offers many benefits. It has high concentration of nutrient and antibodies, but in small quantity. So it has carbohydrate, protein, antibodies, and low fat. So that is very, very important to build immunity in the child. So thus these immune modulatory measures which are explained in the Ayurveda can be used in day-to-day life. And using these measures, our society can be free from autoimmune disorders. This is what the first aim of Ayurveda, Swasthasya Swasthya Rakshanam. Finally, we can say that autoimmunity is a process wherein immune system is no longer able to differentiate between self-antigen and foreign antigen, and it start attacking our own cells. Autoimmune disorders can be placed under two types. Ayurveda is a holistic system of medicine and it can treat the root cause of the disease. Misbehavior of cell component is considered due to metabolic disturbance and overproduction of toxins, which can be correlated with Amadosh, and Amadosh is formed due to low Agni leading to low Ojas. So Ayurveda treatment focuses mainly on the restoration of Agni and Ojas. Thank you. Thank you so much for patience hearing. Thank you, madam.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, we have few questions. Yeah. Question by Dr. Manjunath Nayak, sir.
Hmm.
He has said hello to you, sir. Then what are the
Thank you.
methods which enhances the psychoneuroimmunology? What are the methods which enhance the psychoneuroimmunology? The role of environmental factor in individual immunity, with any example. Then concept of living with nature, how can we adopt?
Madam, one second. Role of environmental factors in. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll ask one by one, sir.
Which one? First question.
What are the methods which enhance the psychoneuroimmunology? Sir, you can stop presenting the slides and you can move to your video mode.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. 1 second.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So first question, what are the methods of enhancing psychoneuroimmunology?
Yes, sir.
There are different methods like meditation, yoga. Then we have Panchakarma procedures like Shirodhara, which will definitely help in enhancing the psychoneuroimmunology. Even the Shodhan procedures, they are found to enhance the neurological functions. Even when we look into the different mansik vyadi like Unmad and Apasmar, even they have told about the Shodhan Chikitsa. So definitely they have some role to play over this psychoneuroimmunology. Even we have seen that following the Vaman Virechan, there is decrease in the circulating immune complexes, and which is suggestive of decrease in the autoimmunity in patients who are suffering from autoimmune disorders. And even the results what we are getting following Shodhan in Twak Vikar, like psoriasis, which have autoimmune etiology, is suggestive that definitely they are acting over the psychological uh, aspect as well as the physical aspects and the nerves.
Okay.
Role of environmental factors. Coming to the role of environmental factors in, what is the next question, madam?
Yes, sir. The role of environmental factors in individual immunity. The role of environmental
In the
factors in individual immunity with any example.
individual immunity
Yes, sir.
in individual diseases.
In individual immunity.
So there are different environmental influences, like when a person is getting exposed to certain environmental chemicals, it happens that the autoimmunity develops. It is seen that patients who are getting exposed to silica, they develop autoimmunity. So this is one best example suggesting that environmental factors can lead to autoimmunity. Even in autoimmune conditions, we see that there is exacerbation following exposure to different chemicals. Even salty air, sometimes when the patient get exposed to salty air, they have increased levels of the antibodies in the serum. Next,
Uh,
madam.
yes, sir. Next question is that he has asked concept of living with nature. How can one adapt? Concept of living with nature. How can one adapt? Maybe in building the immunity.
So that is what I said, that person has to follow dinacharya, he has to follow rutucharya, he has to take hitahar, whatever saath mein to one particular person, he has to adopt to that particular diet, whatever asat mein he should avoid, and whatever things that are told in the classical text, like the quantity of the food, whatever they have told, that should be taken. Not more quantity of food should be taken. Even we have to follow the rules and regulations that are told, like ashta ahar vidhi visheshayatan, that will help in normal living.
Okay, sir.
Any
Okay.
other question, madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There are a few more questions. Mr. Sanjay has asked, sir, uh,
Hmm.
how do Venjaka Hetu play the role in disease manifestation? Please explain with an example, sir. Venjaka Hetu.
Vyanjaka hetu may be responsible, as we see that some patients, they are normal. Generally, they appear normal, but when they consume certain foodstuffs, there is increase in the symptoms. Like when psoriasis patient, he consumes curd, there is increase in the symptoms in psoriasis immediately following that particular diet. So such can be considered as Vyanjak Hetu in that patient.
Yes, sir. The next question: can Prajnaparada induce disorders? Maybe autoimmune disorders. Prajnaparada induce autoimmune disorders.
Pradnyaparad induce autoimmune disorders. So if one doesn't follow the things that are told in the classics, like if one consumes milk and fruits together, when he knows that it is not good for the health, it may result in some disease, like it may result in kushta, then it is a suggestive pradnyaprad only. This is one example of pradnyaprad.
Okay. Okay.
Knowingly, when he is doing that, he's consuming a diet which can produce kushta like psoriasis, then it should be considered as pradnyaprad.
Okay, sir. Next question. Please explain auto-antibodies in Ayurvedic perspectives. Auto-antibodies in Ayurvedic perspectives.
Auto antibodies. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Auto antibody. So actually, there is no direct correlation of auto antibodies in Ayurveda, but but we can consider it as arm. Autoantibodies may be considered as arm. The toxic material which is going to produce some damage to our body. There is no direct correlation as such. We cannot correlate these autoantibodies directly with some material, something which is present in the Ayurveda.
Okay, sir.
Next, madam.
Next, yes, sir. How Rasayana therapy plays a role in central tolerance? Central tolerance. How Rasayana therapy plays a role in central tolerance?
So, if we have best rasadi dhatus, then we will have a good bal, and good bal is suggestive of good immunity. So that is how Rasayan medicines, they will help in the formation of best rasadi dhatus, and that is why it helps in the central, building the central immunity.
Okay, sir. Okay. One last question, sir. The role of Rasa Aushadhi in autoimmune disorders. Role of Rasa Aushadhis in autoimmune disorders.
Rasaushadhis
Yes, sir.
in autoimmune disorders. Okay.
Yes.
So actually, I have not tried any medicine Rasaushadhi in autoimmune diseases, but still there are certain medicines which can be used. Like when I was a PG student, I observed some Vaidyas, they were using uh, Kajali Malam over for local application in giving some temporary relief in patients of autoimmune disease like psoriasis. But I don't have any particular experience with regard to Rasaushadhis in autoimmune diseases,
Okay, sir. Okay.
because we are mostly using the Kashtoshadhis in autoimmune conditions only, or we are using only Shodhan procedures. I don't have personal experience in this regard.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think we are done. Okay, there's one more question, sir. It is geometrical alignment method and Panchabhuta therapy, cosmic energy, mudras, Kuti Praveshika Rasayana methods in enhancing this.
Kuti Praveshik.
Yes, sir. Kuti Rasayana methods,
Okay.
Mudra, Hatha Yoga, cosmic therapy, geometrical alignments, or Panchabhuta therapy. Means, can they help out in this autoimmune disorders?
See, Kuti Praveshik Rasayan is considered to be the Sreshta method in Rasayan. So definitely, if it is done, then definitely it should improve the bala, the strength of the dhatus, and that is how it can improve the Vyadik Shamatva, and that is how it may be effective in autoimmune diseases. With regard to this, what else you said? Mudra.
Yes, sir. Mudra.
See, I don't have
Then,
any experience with regard to those procedures. Next.
okay, sir. Now we are done with the questions, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your very informative, elaborative, and approach to the autoimmune disorders. You have tried your best to enlighten all our viewers. Now, I call upon Ravikant, final year BMS student from Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya Hubli, to give vote of thanks to Avdut sir. Ravikant, are you there?
Thank you.
Okay, 1 second, Kavita. Ravikant, you can on your video also if you want. Yes. You can start.
Good afternoon to all. It's my pleasure to deliver a vote of thanks to all who made today's meeting so successful. I would like to thank our chief guest, Dr. Avadut Daya, for sharing his knowledge with us and also for his valuable time for us. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank
Thank
our
you.
beloved principal, Dr. A.S. Prashant, sir, Chairman Dr. Nargal, sir, and J. Joshi, sir, for their support. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank the
Thank
organizing
you.
team and the staff members of Department of Kaya Chikitsa for organizing the beautiful session. And last but not least, I would like to thank all the participants, students in making today's meeting so successful. Thanks to all.
Okay. Thank
Thank you. Thank you all for a patient hearing. Thank you to all the organizers and all my teachers, Prashant sir, Hullur sir, Sankal sir, all my teachers, Nayak sir. Thank you so much. Jawan sir, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
all.
Thank you, Avarud, sir. Thank you for
Thank
sparing
you,
your
madam.
valuable time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, there is an announcement for tomorrow's session. Okay. Tomorrow, date 12, that is 25/8/2020. The topic is clinical understanding of Amavata by alumni of Ayurveda, Dr. Aisha Kazi Madam, who is presently working as assistant professor in the Department of Kaumara Vritya. She has completed her PG in Kaya Chikitsa. Madam will be talking on clinical understanding of Amavata. Okay, at sharp 2:30. Please be there, everyone. I request. The meeting of the ID of the Google Meet and the Facebook remains the same. Requesting all to join at 2:30. Thank you.